Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for the first issue of the new Sonic miniseries, Imposter Syndrome. Before we begin, because there isn't really a When We Last Left Our Heroes for this, as this is an issue 1, but when we last left the various sort of Starline-themed clone plot lines, the concept was introduced during Chow Races and Bad McBases. As near the end, Starline tried to steal, if he couldn't kidnap the whole Tails, he at least took a bit of Tails' fur for his own experiments. He also kidnapped Belle during Zeddy Hunt in order to work out what exactly Mr. Tinker used to give her emotions. And then we learned during the current Trial by Fire arc that they're the ones responsible for the wildfire currently affecting the girls' camping trip. In the current issues of the mainline comic. And yeah, there's this, it's been going on for a while, Starline's sort of desire to surpass Eggman, and also to maybe give the world to Eggman once he wins. But anyway, let's dive right on into this first issue of Imposter Syndrome. Our picture here is of Sonic and one of the imposters, this green bunny girl, grinding down a railway. I don't know this for sure, but I think I've heard through the grapevine she's supposed to be like a Sonic clone. But we'll see as the story begins. They have a reminder: issue 50 is coming. This whole miniseries is supposed to build along with the current main storyline to the big issue 50. So let's dive right on in. I do like the page that's normally reserved for just listing the writers and the staff of it. It's an Ian Flynn written miniseries, in case y'all weren't aware. But I love the sort of imprint of Starline behind it, reminding us who's behind all of this. And that's what we open with. Starline in a recording. File 1M9SYM001. Operation Remaster is moving into its final testing stages. With this, I will finally be able to break what I affectionately call the Sonic Cycle. To wit, Dr. Eggman stages a bold plan to reshape the world. We have this image of Eggman and his army of egg pawns. Sonic arrives, sometimes with his menagerie of friends, to ruin everything. We see Sonic attacking Eggman, and Eggman runs away with his whole, "I'll get you, Sonic!" Until finally the day is saved. The general populace rebuilds and returns to their regular lives. No evolution, no vision, no future. And our last images of Sonic, of a citizen sort of cleaning up the damage as Sonic leaves. I talked briefly way back at the end of the Metal Virus saga, and the way Amy's hang-ups as leader of the Restoration tied into this idea of a never-ending comic. There will always be a new threat. There will never truly be peace because the comic needs to keep on going forever and ever. It's not really designed with an endpoint in mind. And that's not dissimilar to what Starline is talking about here. The whole things just go and go in a never-ending loop, and he wants to break that loop. Whether he succeeds or not is is probably the story of this comic. Anyway, he continues, "Thankfully, I'm here. Step 1 of Operation Remaster will be to remove Dr. Eggman from play. He is a revolutionary, a visionary, and grooms a fine mustache. But he gets tunnel vision when it comes to Sonic. I have studied under the Master, seen his few shortcomings, and perfected his technique. He'll thank me in the end, I'm sure of it." So we see Starline is still basically where he last left him, convinced that he's the only one who can do what Eggman wants to do. Step 2, replace the so-called heroes who stand in the way of progress. The general populace relies on them far too much, but it's far simpler to replace a few celebrities than change society. By controlling the hero versus villain dynamic, I will be able to shape the world and its people with the very theatrics they've become so accustomed to. Okay, so, what is he getting at there? Because if he was saying, I have my clones, and with them, we're going to make them think that it's Sonic hurting them, but it's not actually Sonic. But that wouldn't really seem to work anyway, because, The imposters don't look like Sonic, and I think it's Sonic and Tails. They don't look like Sonic or Tails. So it was all kind of interesting. I'm still not quite sure what exactly he plans to do with them, especially what we've seen of the two clones in the main series, just starting a wildfire. If they're supposed to be replacement heroes, I'm not quite sure how that works. I don't know. Anyway, he goes on. It's been an arduous journey to gather and assemble all the necessary components to make this plan work. But now at long last, they're ready. And we see the facility he sort of captured at the end of Bad Guys, Tails' fur, the Tricore, Bell. He's been slowly working for the past couple years of real-world time to get ready for this arc. Sonic is undeniably the hero of the world, but building a better Metal Sonic won't suffice. And we see a sort of green blur running through an obstacle course. Sonic is more than just raw power. He's about style, attitude. I need that indomitable spirit, that roguish charm. However, since it is a liability as much as it's a boon, Surge will replace him, and I will keep the bravado on a leash. And we see Surge, who's, you know, the bunny we saw on the cover, who's got this very kind of like punk design. We see like the like chain, the sort of I'm not quite sure what the word for it is. Sort of the style of her bracelets, her earrings, and like the fangs, the whole vibe she has as she attacks one of the robots. You thought you could touch me? Pathetic. As previously noted, there are design flaws inherent in Sonic. And we see someone like splashes water at there is this other bot that was about to hit Surge with this axe. And it gets water thrown at it. And Surge mocks it, turning on the attack. Cheap shot for a cheap bot. Surge needs a support unit to make up for her shortcomings. An analytical balance to the brashness. Someone to look before she leaps. And Surge calls out, "Nice assist, kid. Don't let it go to your head." Thus, Kitsunami was modeled after Sonic's most beneficial ally, Tails. So that's Surge and Kitsunami, which are... So from what I can tell, Kitsunami is a mixture of Kitsune, which I think translates to fox, if I'm not mistaken, and Tsunami, obviously, the giant wave, which fits the sort of water fox vibe he's got going on. I'm not quite sure how they're meant to be... Like, I can see vague similarities between... Or not... I can see how they're sort of, you know, archetypically modeled after Sonic and Tails, but I don't quite see how cloning fits into that. Anyway, Kitsunami sort of chimes in. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. He's very sort of shy, much shyer than Tails is. Kitsunami tells her, "Well, we have less than a minute to complete the course." And Surge just sort of taunts, "All the time in the world." And she runs off. It looks like her speed is powered by some kind of electric gear. And she throws herself at the badniks. Kitsunami's water also sort of coming for them. And we see the water sort of holds open this door closing so Surge can jump on in. And she slides to a stop right in front of Starline. And done. In record time, too. Come on, Doc, you can be impressed. But Starline gets on to her. "You left Kitsunami behind." And Kitsunami catches up, but still late. "I'm sorry, I had to recharge my pack." And Surge counters, "Kit got here eventually. The important one made it in record time." So I'm glad there's a nickname, because I was already sort of struggling to say Kitsunami every single time I talked about him. We have Kit as a nickname, which fits. And Starline kind of brushes her off, and so Surge sort of gets angry. "Test? Passed. Me? Awesome. So let's get on with the main mission already. You've proven proficiency in a controlled environment. The next step is to test your skills in the field, but in a way that won't..." And Surge sort of comes up and grabs Starline by the shirt and ready some like electricity in her hand. "I'm real tired of you talking down to me. We go now and we go hard." So we're already seeing some conflict between Surge and Starline. And given that Surge's own creation is caused by the conflict between Starline and Eggman, I suspect, or I'm considering the idea that Surge will end up betraying Starline somehow. In this much the same way Starline betrayed Eggman, though with less pretensions of benevolence on Starline's part. But Starline just also calmly hypnotizes her, go to sleep. And she collapses, Kit grabs her. What did you do to her? You saw nothing. And with that, he hypnotizes Kit as well. And he sort of looks at his sort of hypnosis-inducing hand. A pity it isn't this potent against anyone else. Still, once again, it pays to have built in a weakness to my hypnosis effect. Okay. I'm curious if that will end up biting him in the ass one day. That somehow someone else will get their hands on the hypnosis gauntlet, because it's the gauntlet that causes it, right? Not Starline himself. And therefore create a potent weapon against Surge and Kit. The two of them wake up. Ugh, what happened? And Surge picks up, yeah, lay it on me. And Starline tells them, you pushed your enhancements too far and had a brief blackout. Now then, shall we discuss your first live field test? And we come to Forest Ridge Campgrounds that night, which seems to be the setup for the forest fire and Trial by Fire. First, if we're to remove Sonic from play, we need to weaken his support base. No Surge, no assassination. A vengeful hero is driven, dedicated, and morally righteous. But a hero suffering from a tragic loss from a horrible accident? That one's broken and morose. Ah, so that's what's going on. That's why they did what they did with the forest fire, is to not create a target of revenge on Sonic. To kill, Amy and Tangle and Whisper and Jewel and Belle, but not to give Sonic a target. I'm still kind of unclear as to what Starline's final goal is. Like going back to that earlier page, he's replaced the heroes and controlling the hero versus villain dynamic. I will be able to shape the world and people the very theatrics that I've become so accustomed to. I'm still a little hazy on how he wants to shape it, I think is the real question. Like, if he's the one in control, if he has like a monopoly on both heroism and villainy, then he can control the entire narrative. But for what purpose exactly, I think is kind of the question. I don't know, maybe it's as simple as just like giving Eggman a world to rule that's already sort of, like give Sergeant Kit to Eggman and he can have all the power he wants. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what exactly the extent of Starline's planning is. Anyway, setting the forest on fire, and thanks to Surge's speed, she quickly creates like a fire tornado. And then we come to Central City days later. So now we're moving past the Trial by Fire arc, because that's still at that night, right? I think so. Secondly, while I know how powerful you are, I mean to assess your finesse. Our first real mission must be clandestine. So I want you to sow chaos and not get caught. And we see Surge and Kit in like a back alley, watching some people just like hanging out in Central City. Look at it. This is Surge, acting like they don't have a care in the world. Didn't the Zombots tear the city apart not too long ago? And Kit, much more meek. The restoration helped them rebuild. I think they just want to be happy. And Surge like taunts. Sucks to be them, because I aim to misbehave. And Kit sort of chimes in. I can use my hydrocoil tails to reach underground, access and manipulate the wiring, and throw the traffic lights and power grids into disarray. And Surge tells him, you have fun with that. And she gets into a spin dash with her electricity going wild. I'm gonna go fast. Well, yes. There's that too. And she like dashes through the town, causing a spark that sort of knocks all the cars over, windows shatter, or lights, light poles, street lights shatter. She like knocks over a bunch of citizens, just causes mayhem all through the town. It's not exactly finesse, I'll say that much. But it sure is something. But then we cut to a few miles away in Emerald Town, as Starline is at Tails' house. Oh dear Mr. Prower, you take after Dr. Eggman in some surprising ways. Specifically, that Tails' house looks like Tails. Which, yeah, I mean, Kind of, yeah. Sort of. That is sort of an Eggman thing. Well, I covered my tracks. He's astute enough to realize I was studying Belle for something. If he reviews her code himself, he may realize what I've done to Surge and Kitsunami. From there, he could develop some kind of countermeasure. I need to know what he knows and destroy any research he has. And he sort of examines the front door and thinks, no immediate security measure. The door seems to be reinforced. And he activates the power core and tries to lift, but even with the power core can't do it. Very reinforced. Blast it all. And Surge and Kit come to Emerald Town, find Starline. Boom! One sleepless city and not a police siren to be heard. And Starline sort of ignores that and talks right to Kit. Kitsunami, see if you can feed your hydro coil under the door and unlock it from the other side. And Kit tries and fails. No sir, it's airtight. And Surge is still mad that continuing to be mad that Starline does not really give her the attention she wants. Hello? I passed your test with flying colors and time to spare. How about a little recognition? And Starline just ignores her still. Looks like he learned from the outbreak and upgraded. Well played, boy. And Surge is just, ready to just bust her way in. Puh, fine. If you want in there so bad, I'll knock a wall in. And Starline stops her. No! The entire point of this exercise was stealth. Our time limit is up. Return to base, everyone. And so they all go back. Surge running, Kit with his hydro coil, and Starline with the speed core all return back to Starline Base Sigma sometime later. And they're looking over a pair of headlines. Heroes save campers from wildfire. I guess that's a minor spoiler for next month's Sonic issue. And career criminals assault Central City, which, I guess they got the wrong guys for Surge's mayhem. And Kit disappointedly notes, we failed. But Surge protests, hey, we didn't get caught. That was the point. And then Surge continues to press on to Starline. I wanted to deal with Sonic's gal pals directly. Somebody wanted to trust a wall of stupid flame. But Starline notes a close call for them isn't any better or worse than Dr. Eggman's track record. And Surge sort of brushes that off. Whatever. We did good, right? You did well. Starline, ever the fucking dramatic doctor type, has to correct her grammar. And so now it's finally time. And Surge is raring to go after that. Oh yeah! For the final test. Oh, come on! She is just not in the mood for this at all. You gave me the power to destroy Sonic. Let me destroy Sonic. Starline counters, I gave you the power to change the world, but it will only work if you follow my plan. The first step is to safely remove Dr. Eggman from play. We can only do that once we're sure we can strip him of his support. So here's the interesting thing, because earlier, when he was talking about Sonic and support, he was talking about allies, right? Amy and Belle and Jewel and Tangle and was it just the four of them? I thought Whisper wasn't. No, Whisper is not involved. It might just be those four who are in Trial by Fire. But my point being that Eggman doesn't have allies in that way. He's sort of not quite a lone wolf, given he has his own private robot army, but closer to the concept of a lone wolf than Sonic is. I don't know. I've selected this remote base. He points to a base on his computer screen to test out my updated bypass algorithm. We will infiltrate the base, and Surge sort of explains as fast as she possibly can. And then we get your security blanket out of the secure bunker so you feel safe enough to do another stupid test and blah, blah, blah. I do love her kind of mockery there. She's just really tired of this shit. Kit kind of protests, I think we should be careful. I don't want you to get hurt. And Surge snaps, you saying I can't handle myself? No. You saying you won't do your job and watch my back? No. Well, you aren't saying anything. Shut up. And Surge turns back to Starline. Look, I get you brainy type to think of all the angles, but me and that Faker boy are simple creatures. I hit him fast, I hit him hard. I keep hitting until he doesn't move anymore. And Starline turns on her. And how did you plan on finding him? I can run laps around the planet until I find him. And if he's with his friends, then I take them out too. Oh, really? Tails is providing air support, and Tangle and Whisper are striking at range. Amy is closing in, and you can handle Sonic. Well, probably. I do like the way that Starline's just like, here's all the ways you will fail. No punches saved. You will fail, and here is why. If Sonic's alone, maybe you can take him. With his whole fucking team with him, you're screwed. But Surge tries to like defend herself. Kit will be handling all those worthless extras, and Kit's sort of embarrassed. I do my best. Don't patronize me. I'll drown you with your own tails. So we'll see. Surge seems to be starting fights with literally everyone, and I'm curious if that's going to come back to bite her in the ass in the end. I thought she might betray Starline. I could see maybe if this is the way Flynn and Stanley choose to go, Kit betraying Surge, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to sort of wait and see. And we see after Surge says that, join with your own tails, Kit kind of scares himself back. Oh, for the love of, stop cringing. We can't take out Sonic if you're always doing that. I'm sorry. And Surge is still really mad. Ugh! Why do you even want to help me? And Kit just screams out, I don't know. And Surge starts to get some self-awareness. Why do I want to do this? Any of this? I haven't even met Sonic. I don't think I have. Okay, more routes this could go. I mean, earlier I was sort of thinking maybe if Kit betrays Surge out of frustration for how shittily he treats her, or she treats him, he might become an ally to Sonic. What if Surge does the same thing? I don't know. And Kit asks, you want to destroy him still? Yeah, but why? Do you? And Kit answers, I want whatever you want. But why? And Kit thinks about it and looks at her. I don't know. And with that bit of self-awareness, Starline puts a stop to all of us, hypnotizes them, and reboot. I thought keeping things simple would make things easier. Perhaps I should craft a bit of backstory to show up their emotional, but it doesn't quite seem to work. Because Surge, who is, I think, minorly hypnotized. Looking at her eyes, she's got those concentric circles like the hypnotism thing. But not quite as hypnotized as she looks at the the top of this page. I don't know. Interesting. What did you do to me? Gah! And Starline just slams his hand in her face. Sleep! 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 And Surge tries to fight it. No! Answers. And with that, she passes out. Starline is just sort of panicked at that. That even his hypnosis is starting to fail. His plan might not be working out too well. And Starline sort of thinks to himself while they're asleep. When I used Belle's base code to write personalities for them, I expected a little more stability. Maybe the difference was she was built from scratch? Or is it a byproduct of... So I was kind of confused for a sec because they don't really have personalities based on Belle. I guess there's a code in Belle's wiring that allows her personalities. He just uses that code and then codes the personality on top of it. It's probably becoming clear to everyone watching this. I know nothing about coding. I studied theater and English in college, and I don't know shit about mathematics or anything techie whatsoever. But anyway, my point being that it looks like he used Belle's concept design as a jumping off point to learn how to code personalities. But is he saying that part of the lack of stability is that it's a copy of Belle's design? Like how when you run things through a copy machine, it gets more and more faded as time goes on, as the copies go on, maybe? I don't know. This resistance to the hypnotic control is also an unwelcome bug. I've invested too much in them now to start over. I'll just have to handle them with more care. Once we begin to fulfill their primary directives, their personalities should even out. And he kind of looks over at them as they start to wake up, and he thinks, with this like devilish grin, showtime. And the two of them are sort of confused as to why they're suddenly waking up. Kit goes over to ask Surge, what happened? And Starline goes over to them, puts his arms on their shoulders. Thank goodness you're all right. Is anything broken? Anything feel wrong? And Surge asks, no? And Starline gets this sort of doting father act here. Most likely because Kit here caught you, even though he was glitching as well. And Surge sort of smiles. You always have my back, don't you, Drippy? Thanks. So she's much nicer with this reboot here. Maybe it's sort of they start less aggressive and then slowly sort of spiral out to the sort of full-on, fuck. I've done 4 videos today. My words are failing me at this point. Full-on existential crisis. And as they get closer to that crisis, they get more and more aggressive. You always have my back, don't you, Drippy? Thanks. You're welcome. And then she turns back to Starline. Ugh, you said we glitched? Yes, we got into a heated argument, which overloaded your upgrades. So is he telling them that we're normal people, and then they got these sort of technological upgrades, hiding the fact they're like lab made? Okay. You wanted me to complete one more optimization test. I wanted to push ahead into the main mission. Tempers flared and, well, here we are. I'm sorry, you were right. We'll go ahead with the final testing phase if that's what you want. So he's also saying that they were the ones that wanted one more test. And that way, they're like less aggressive with the concept of the test, I suppose. Surge sort of argues, huh? That sound right to you? And Kit's kind of on board with it. I do want to make sure you're safe, ma'am. All right, then, sure. We'll do the test. What's the plan? So even she's starting to feel like something's not quite right here. The first step is to safely remove Dr. Eggman from play. We can only do that once we're sure we can strip him of his... Excuse me. We can only do that once we're sure we can strip him of his support. I've selected this remote base to test out my updated bypass algorithm. We will infiltrate the base and then, next time, stress test. That's just sort of where we leave off. We see our next issue's cover, which is a sort of parody of, I think, the Sonic 2 cover, with Starline in place of Eggman and Surge and Kit in place of Sonic and Tails, which is a nice little callback there. But yeah, that's where we leave off. It's sort of an awkward stopping point. But there is a lot to think about here. Just in sort of working out what Starline's plan is, what exactly is the deal with Surge and Kit, what's going to happen to them, what could happen with them. I definitely, the more I'm reading this, I'm starting to see the seeds for a rift between Surge and Kit and Starline. Much like we saw the seeds for the rift between Starline and Eggman back during the Metal Virus saga. So that could all be a lot of things to sort of keep in mind going forward. I also do like the whole existential crisis thing. I think it's a really interesting concept. They're bred to destroy Sonic and Tails, or to take out Sonic is sort of their programmed purpose in life. But they have enough of a consciousness to like be aware that they don't have a reason for that. And if they think too hard about that, things start to get kind of weird. So I imagine Starline will give them that sort of backstory they need sooner rather than later, but I also can't imagine it not eventually coming to a head that Starline is like programming them and altering them as he will. There's no way that's not going to blow up in his face one of these days. But for now, what we have is a pretty good intro to Imposter Syndrome. It gives us the sort of extra clarity of what exactly happened to kickstart the forest fire over in Trial by Fire. And also tells us like what happens in the end. We all knew that the heroes were going to win. But it does just sort of reveal that. It's not really a big deal because, again, it was the sort of obvious story choice. But yeah, that's sort of it. it's a first issue, so there's a good bit of setup here, sort of introducing Surge and Kit. Specifically, I think the most interesting thing is Surge's growing resistance to hypnosis, which will definitely fuck Starline over one of these days. But yeah, there's just a whole lot of interesting bits here. But for now, Starline's got the duo back under his control, and he's going to start to take Eggman off the board for now, so that Eggman won't get in Starline's way while he creates a world for Eggman. And yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'm really excited to see how all of this plays out. But yeah, that's all I gotta say for this video. Hope you all enjoyed the issue and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!